Welcome to Wine Soundtrack Australia. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world.
In 30 ounces, discover their stories, personalities and passions.
Hello, listeners and friends of your Wine Soundtrack. My name is Priscilla Hennicam and I'm here with Alex Georges from Koonowla Wines. How are you today?
Good, Priscilla. How are you doing?
Very good. So tell me, we are in Clare Valley, right?
That's right.
Tell me about the secrets about Clare Valley. Why do you make so great wines here?
I guess the secret to Clare, I suppose, like every region, it is the terroir. I suppose the most kind of common feedback is specifically the minerality. I guess that's kind of why it doesn't really have that acclaim around the riesling. I guess, some of the cabs as well.
Yeah, so probably Shiraz is one of the most well-known grapes, but beyond of Shiraz, what do you produce here?
I suppose the cabernet sauvignon's been, it's a bit of a quintessential Clare Valley kind of varietal. We've had a bit of a focus around that, probably the last 3 years, but I guess like a lot of people who are positioned where we are, really the bulk of the range is Shiraz.
Yeah, and then how much hectares of your land do you have in the property?
There's 3 different vineyards.
That's okay. So what type of wine you have? Reds, whites, sparkling?
So the bulk of the range is red. Again, it's always predominantly been Shiraz. About 5 years ago, we acquired our Auburn vineyard, and that's really, I guess, where we started to get a lot of the diversity in the range. Those were our first Riesling croppings. But as well as it came with that, we had, again, those more European-centric varietals. We had the Red Zinfandel, which we've labelled the Primitivo, and also the Malbec Mataro, Cabernet, and some Petit Verdot in there as well.
Wow, Malbec is that?
Yeah.
What is the difference about Malbec from Argentina and Malbec from Clare? Clare is better, or Malbec from Argentina is better, or what do you feel like it?
Listen, better. I feel like I'm going to be stepping on a lot of people's toes if I try to start saying Clare Malbec specifically, as I'm sure you guys might if you start claiming that you're making the best Shiraz. But listen, again, I think it is really an effect of that lime stominess that we do get in all of varietals that probably would give it, I suppose, a Clare Valley Malbec specific kind of texture to it. I suppose, again, it is maybe just always that little bit of extra spice that you do get in the Clare Reds.
Yeah, and then do you sell a lot of overseas, or most of your sales is domestic? Do you have any percentage, how much you sell here, how much you sell overseas?
Literally, I think at this stage, everything is domestic. We did have one small deal where we did something for somebody else under their brand, and that was moved over to Hong Kong, but we really are fully local.
Yeah. And then tell us about you, Alex. Do you have any very nice story to tell us, your first memory relevant of wine?
Sure. I mean, I guess like many South Australians, I was probably introduced to the Reds a little earlier. I think I was probably, privileged enough to be surrounded by some younger people who'd also kind of developed that palate early on. But like anybody who's got some production in the family, you do have a tendency to perhaps gravitate to a more European lifestyle around the dinner table. You probably, again, maybe drinking a little bit before legal age. But yeah.
And that's interesting. So do you remember how old were you?
I think it was specifically at a couple of the award shows that Dad had on for the real estate days that we had some of the early Georges varietals on the table. So took to sampling that, I suppose. So certainly maybe overdid it the early experience, but certainly nothing to hinder any want to further on with experimenting with reds.
So, and how did you start in this wine industry? Tell us, how did this story, when did you start it?
Well, I guess, always worked in the family business, always worked quite closely with Dad, really over the past decade. for the most part of that, it was working in the real estate industry. But I probably began the segue of focusing that really before we'd made all the major ways out. Really only been in the wine industry for about 4 years in reality. But it's, certainly seen a lot of changes in the marketplace in the short time that I've been here. So it's been a fast learning curve, I'll say that much.
You enjoy to work in the wine industry now? This big change for you? What do you feel?
I do. I quite like the wine industry. It's a very interesting product to work with. The levels of complexity that as you kind of go further in, that realization that it is and has been around for so long because of that. But, there's no real amount of technical semantics that does replace that very unique and individual kind of emotional quality. And there is also, again, as I did say, we don't have any export yet, but I do love that premise. I do love that idea that you're building a product that is for export and, something that if you do move and position your brand well, would, eventuate in supporting the Australian economy. It's a really great feeling to know that the day-to-day might be having a greater nationalistic kind of positive effect. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the wine business in Australia, in South Australia mainly, it's quite a big thing.
It is, and it does kind of double down with, as many South Australians do, have spent a fair bit of time kind of away from SA and returned with a real kind of profound appreciation for everything that we've got here. So, again, to be part of an industry that is such a backbone of where the overall economy sits. It does certainly add a lot of motivation behind, I think, a lot of the actions there.
As a South Australia guy, do you have any favorite variety in Australia or grape? You really like it and love it, and always you go into bottle shop and always you choose the same?
It's gotta be shiraz. Like if I'm not sick of it at this point, obviously you do. You can go through those periods where you overdo it, but I think it's just such a instinctive kind of part of my life and routine, and dare I say my own DNA. Yeah.
So Shiraz will be your pick for tonight, for example?
Yeah, very plausibly. It's Friday. I mean, there's going to be a few other things kind of moving around. I do try to start with the whites, but no, I'd imagine at a bare minimum there'll be one glass.
How good you are with social media? You like it?
Do I like it as far as personally or using it for business?
Both of them.
I think I'm actually kind of getting sick of it. I've done so much social media, again, for the marketing side of things. I think I'm kind of at that stage now where I'm really happy to palm off. But again, I'm pro it, definitely. I do think that the algorithm is not a manipulative thing. I think it is quite intrinsically social and reflective on that. And I love the idea that if it is positive engagement, and again, I think most of the wine industry get majority positive engagement online. So again, it's overall the vibe's very good. And yeah, I love that idea that somebody's found a bottle in their living room and they're able to start their understanding and their journey of our story right from their phones, right kind of then and there. So, and again, certainly when you're building a new brand or 2 or 3 new brands, I just love that ability to connect and engage.
Any favorite platform? Facebook, Instagram?
I think Facebook's been obviously, it still kind of remains the majority. Everyone's almost logged in by default. I think there's that. I think the demographics seem to suggest that certainly, your traditional wine drinkers are probably more focused on Facebook specifically. But obviously there are, again, one of the things that's fascinating about the effect that digital space has had on the wine industry is it's obviously created a ton of new consumers who are finding the product specifically for that reason. So I think I'm pretty far off the TikTok campaign, but
TikTok, oh wow.
Yeah, I guess given time. I mean, it seems like video is the future of everything. So certainly, seldom you don't see someone from Gen Y not walking around filming something. So happy to engage in that space eventually.
Yeah, it seems like videos and pictures is being like a big thing for engaging consumers these days. And do you have a cellar Alex?
Do I have a personal cellar?
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of use the one at Koonowla itself. I live in an apartment, so I probably I've got some nicer, probably real special vintages. Grange's there, and I keep that kind of hidden away at the apartment.
Maybe the most expensive wine? The Grange one?
Oh, that I've got, yeah, definitely. I mean, again, that guy's still he's gonna be aged for some while. I think that might be a special one at the 60th. Hopefully, I'll have a few more stored away by then too. But
so, do you have any favorite VIP or something like you think it's like if you imagine someone overseas or even here in Australia drinking Koonowla wine and the restaurant and the magazine take picture and then these pictures go everywhere in the world. But imagine that the VIP, a famous person. So do you wish is someone like some type of person you think is actually suits very well to drink Koonowla wines?
Did you put a spot in that one?
Can you imagine the situation?
Trying to think of a celebrity. Ewan McGregor's great and everything. Yes, if I could choose, if I had that dictation, absolutely. Take Ewan McGregor. Seems like he's a pretty popular presence. Seems like he'd be a real positive advocate for it. So, but.
And tell us, for you, each vintage is a different story or not?
Sorry?
Different vintage is a different story or not?
Oh, absolutely, especially at the moment. Again, certainly from the overall production side of things, much of the biggest pitfall many wine producers used to hit is, if I've got a low vintage, I can't potentially meet the market share that I had last year. But a great deal of what seems to be happening with the Australian export stuff internationally seems to have created a great deal of kind of fluctuation around that. So, very potentially a low vintage from the last couple of years might not necessarily be the worst case scenario. Again, if you're of that expectation that, the marketplace might have a lot of stock that's going to be moving out to it.
So how do you think about the future of Australian wines with this so much wines in Australia?
I think when I entered the industry, and again, I'm very, very new to what is, again, one of the oldest industries, seemed like the talk was all about premiumization, and that was certainly I think the journey that we embarked on. We partnered with a creative team at Tucker Creative, who are here in South Australia, and they really helped, I think, first identify what we were actually trying to accomplish, and then looked at the varietals, as well as obviously working with a viticulturalist and winemaker, and kind of figured out what brands might evolve best into what that premiumization means.
Yeah, very interesting view. Alex, when don't look at me like this, Alex. when you're very, very, very little, very, very little, what did you want to be when you grew up?
God, that is a big question. I feel like I might have a few career ambitions under my belt for somebody who's just teetering on over into the early 30s. I suppose started off, I went to film school kind of initially, but really even halfway through that, had already started to focus more on marketing. So, kind of shot out for something that was probably very, very different from, I suppose, a lot of people I graduated high school with. But I think by the end of it, I was quite business and general marketing focused kind of anyway, which is probably more the standard place that, where I might have wound up if I'd stayed here. Sorry, I'd gone to the States to do that. I'd gone to the US.
Oh, wow.
Hence the reason my accent's a little bit of a mush of a few things, I guess. But then, again, right after that, Dad and I had kind of talked and was looking about, again, the realities of what might be becoming of pursuing that career over there in the States. And we kind of agreed that joining up with the family business was probably going to be a very important time. And a big aspect of that, the real estate industry itself wasn't hugely emotionally kind of pulling me in, but it was the idea of understanding where the family's business's foundations had been established, as well as kind of working with Dad as a mentor.
Yeah. And then how did your passions about wine came from?
I think it's all, I think the passion for wine's always kind of been there. I think that's always, again, been that underlining kind of thing, this kind of secret little, great product that we've always kind of had in the family portfolio that's been slowly kind of growing. That was the initial George's line. And again, like I suppose many producers, it started as a small investment, which, kind of grew into a real emotional value thing. And then, as again, many members of my family often do, a very obsessive thing, kind of overall, probably I'd say is a shared obsession as much as it is a passion, I guess.
That's so beautiful to see that passion in your family. And do you prefer any specific, like white or red or sparkling wine, or do you drink everything? I'm more, I suppose, looking for a bit of diversity in my red portfolio. Whites is probably something I probably need to do a bit more journeying on myself. But hey, certainly when it comes to food pairings, I think finding the right white, a good Shardy. Certainly a good Chardonnay. Certainly find the right food pairing. So certainly right. Talking about wine pairing, do you pairing as well white wine with meat or meat with white wine or something like that? So do you do the opposite things? Do you drink like red wine with fish, for example?
I'm very OCD about that. And again, it's not overly about my huge technical understanding of every single varietal and every single matching, but I don't know, something that just doesn't, again, all the way fit right. And I think there is that real emotional value to the pairing if you feel like you've got it straight right. But I try to stick a bit traditional with it. Again, whites with a bit of the white meat, and then reds on the red.
Yeah. Do you follow that rules?
Yeah, no, I'd say I'm semi-stringent. There's a little obsessive compulsive repulse on what bottle I might be cracking, depending on what I did or didn't Uber.
That was the truth. That was the truth, Alex. How many bottles needed to get you drunk? Tell us the truth.
Well, that's an interesting one. I mean, depends. Nobody else ever seems to point out how intoxicated I am. I might be aware of it, but that might be probably why I'm at the higher end of that spectrum, I suppose. But no official answer. I do. Well, in all that honesty, I think part of being part of the emerging wine industry is the reality of that moderation. I think you do have to have that other aspect too. Appreciating a single glass as much as you can perhaps appreciate the full effect that a bottle has on yourself. But I really don't ever like getting too drunk if I'm not with other people. Again, that's just doesn't seem like a worthwhile experience. And again, you can't really appreciate the wine that much once you've gone too far over. And certainly, is that really worth a hangover? I guess that's also a factor too. But
you never been hungover before?
Oh no, I've been plenty hungover before. Oh no, don't get me wrong. And again, it's again, use my own stock to do the most damage, I'd imagine. But
how many bottles did you drink that night? 2, 3, 4, 5?
No, I've definitely never tipped over anything past 3.5. But on a personal basis. But again, too, hey, it's easy enough to have 3 people around and all of a sudden realise that there's a lot more bottles on the table than there are people. Certainly, I feel like that's probably the most conducive scenario.
And what did you do the next day for recover yourself?
Recovery for me, I think it's an introverted time. If I'm more extroverted when I was during the previous evening, definitely want quiet, alone, sleep. I'm under the covers, wait for the storm to pass, and then I hope for the best.
A lot of coffee?
Yeah, coffee's a factor. Coffee's a big factor. Coffee's a factor in my daily life. So certainly on those slower Sundays.
When you not work, how do you spend your free time?
Well, yeah, I guess it falls into that obsession thing, Wine's always there. It's always, probably try to be as social as possible. But again, that's probably conducive with most of the relationships that people maintain with me. It's probably an association with Alex and wine. That's generally the first pub insinuation that Alex would be having a red. So that's probably a pitfall that I fall into too. And yeah, I like I said, yeah, I do like to do a fair bit of cardio. I like my jogging too. So there's also that kind of other aspect to that.
Do you practice any sport?
No, just running around in circles by myself, which is health beneficial enough. But I know a lot of people will find it hard to get motivated by themselves to exercise. I think it's a little easier for me, so probably fortunate in that space.
Have you ever had someone read your tarot cards?
No.
You don't want to know your future.
No, I absolutely want to know my future. That'd be a fantastic tool, both in life and in business. But I don't know if those people are necessarily going to be, bringing that all to the table.
So you don't believe in tarot cards?
Listen, if somebody wants to instill faith right now, Priscilla, I feel like you're implying you've got some in that purse. Is that where this is going?
So, completing the phrase, the sentence. A day without wine is like?
I mean, did the day ever happen? Somebody else's life, apparently. I suspect.
So in your home and never can stay without wine, your table without wine, that's not gonna be right.
If I didn't see a bottle at the very least, yeah, I'd probably feel like I'm losing traction or something.
What sort of wines do you think you'll be drinking in the future? You'll be drunk in the future?
Well, like I said, I hope what we'll probably see. Well, yeah, hopefully maintaining a relationship with Shiraz that we've got. Again, if a relationship can last 10 years, then hopefully it can last a lifetime, right? I think that'll always be a factor. I guess it's about the reality of what I'm seeing in my own consumers, where you do have your maturity in your own life experience does in reality mature that palate. I guess price-wise, it's probably easier not to get too invested. But yeah, I've seen a lot of those core consumers who are just like, if it doesn't have at the minimum, a decade age on it, I'm not going to, I'm not going to put it past my lips. But that's all part of the beauty of the product, right?
Yeah, and what do you think about climate change? Do you think the climate change will be influencing the ones you will be making in the future?
Absolutely. No, I think that we, to whatever the source of it, we're seeing some very measurable changes, certainly in the past 2 years. Australia seems to have that, its own personal effects of that, but this last season in the US was somewhat catastrophic. Certainly some of the reports that have been coming through are a little bit all too real. As to whether that will ultimately potentially be positive, who knows? Again, it is very obvious that the climate is going through some major alterations, whether that might be more affecting of some regions specifically, in Australia. That's all part of the tack that we need to kind of play it by. Certainly, as a major move, would probably like to stay centralised in the area that we are, but I mean that's the plan anyway, and that's the brand that we're building. It's really around Clare Valley varietals, but yeah, I think it's certainly a bit of a wait and see for this industry and every industry. Certainly would hope that it is minimising any potential carbon impacts, and certainly that'd be a bit of a personal goal that we can shoot for. But again, it does fall down to that Australian as an export market, as an export product. It's obviously not going to happen overnight, but there are certain things Australians can be doing to export, to be supporting the economy, to building the economy, that are not quite, Again, if we're exporting coal, we're killing the coral reef, we're minimising the tourism from the, let's think about the overall cash flow structure, guys. You know, it's a bit about that sometimes too. So yeah, a very, very, very real situation. But yeah, I think unfortunately the only thing we can really do now is kind of take it as it comes and I think maneuver around that.
Talk about export. You just mentioned that. So what do you think about screw cap and cork? How explain to all listeners about why Australia use a lot of screw cap?
I guess that's a huge staple of the New World. I think it's always been screw cap, and again, you question it a lot less when you've always been surrounded by it. I don't think that there was ever that. You know, it certainly comes down to the realities of it. I've been to more than the one tastings when you realise you've actually got 100 people to serve and they're going to be coming through soon, and you're certainly going to kind of regret having the corkage in there. But at the same time too, we have invested that in our more premium, those European Bordeaux style Clare Valley reds that we've developed. Both our Icon Shiraz and again that cab blend, that they're both under cork.
So you use a little bit cork and screw cap in your range?
Yeah, again, the majority of it would be screw cap, but when Koonowla does go out of his way to make the point of the importance of it, it is also too about that emotional value. There is that idea of wine as it is, as it always has been, and that true traditional product. And I think there's certainly in the premium stuff an expectation for that specifically. There is that, which is, it's an audible part of the experience. And if that's what your expectation is, it should be there. I think that's absolutely the truth. But sometimes the sound of the pouring faster is, that much more audibly appealing as well, I guess.
And we opened the borders again because the COVID situation we closed the borders here in Australia. Do you have any place you wanted to go to visit, to explore, any one region?
Well, in general, I'd like to be, obviously.
Your daddy thought about Italy, so you're going with him or no?
No. I'm going to allow Dad to have his vacation so that I can get some work done. I think that's probably the best thing. I'd like to get over to the Hunter. I think it sounds like they've had some interesting kind of effects there, but I do know a few people around there, and I feel like that's one region I'd like to get a lot more kind of familiarised with.
Yeah. So, and overseas, do you have any wine regions that you'd like to visit, like Bordeaux, Burgundy, or somewhere in Italy?
I think in general, I'd like to spend a fair bit of time in Italy. I think our viticulturalist pulls a lot of his expertise, and again, a great deal of that emotional value. Part of what has begun to affect so much of the style of the range. It does seem like there is probably a strong kind of a basis for some of those regions. So, and again, food-wise, I mean, that's probably a good pairing option, right?
So, Alex, I have it to tell you that now is the time to play a game. Are you ready?
Listen, I'm saying I'm ready. I'm going to say yes, but we'll see how this goes in the edit. Sure.
So the game is very easy. So I will tell you the famous people in the world. I promise I will pick some famous people, so you probably know.
Sure.
And then
I'm not sure how old you are. You might know celebrities that I just don't know exist. I'm not quite sure, Priscilla, but no, yeah, absolutely.
And then you need to pick in one grape or wine and then tell us why.
Sure.
Okay? Ready?
Absolutely.
So, let's see. Starting with Beyonce.
Deep, passionate.
Maybe sexy as well.
I was going to say curvy.
Which wine do you recommend to her?
I would say probably more the Cab than the Shiraz. I mean, overall, I think that, although, the Primitive has got those kind of dark plum, kind of full ripe kind of notes. So I think that
Primitive for her?
Primitive of Beyonce for sure.
Yeah. And why? Because it's
bold and impactful, and again, got those nice, poignant, soft curves.
And it's someone like Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
Yeah, it's completely opposite of Beyonce.
Well, Mr. Marley, as is my understanding of his history, is a very relaxed individual. So maybe something like the Malbec. Easy, kind of high fruit, bit spicy, but something to chill with his vibe.
And someone like Madonna.
Madonna? I don't really like Madonna. Honestly, I don't like that question. I give her some of the exile. I give her some of the standard stuff.
Madonna's aging very well, by the way.
I agree. Well, yes, certainly as a comparable basis. She might be a premium, but
She's probably a premium wine.
I'm just kind of a Guy Ritchie fan. I think just kind of went down on the guy. It seemed like it was a bit of a harsh situation, but maybe that's a feminism allegory. Maybe some of the girls at the top need a
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie. I feel like she's got a pretty insensitive palate. Yeah, no, I think.
You need to do something like she can drink and with the big lips she has.
Definitely the Bordeaux blend. Yeah, there's a lot that have gone into it, and there's a lot of factors in there, but ultimately everything completely balances out, and you're left with a real super premium. So yeah, no, she's definitely the Bass Hill blend.
And the Queen?
The Queen Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to shoot the icon with that one. Go with the icon Shiraz, and
I imagine she's listening to this podcast, so you need to get something very nice for her.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. Technically, she's still the boss around here. We're still Commonwealth. She's
exactly. So make sure you choose something nice.
I think so. I think she's got full authority over everyone, right? Isn't that if she wants? Yeah, I gotta watch that space.
And Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
Man, bloody pressure's on now. I think the Mataro. Again, something indicative of patience, and again, it's good because it's taken a beating. It's good because it's been through the sun, and it's had those kind of raisiny kind of qualities that you get right up on there. But it came out of the end of it incredibly positively. So no, I think he's the Mataro.
Mataro for him. Donald Trump. What do you choose for him? Don't think too much. Oh my God. Very serious.
It's a serious question these days. Maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it is. I think that was always the point, right?
We have a lot of listeners in America, by the way.
I'm going to go with the Koonowla Shiraz. Specifically because of the label might not be conducive with that orangey kind of pastel hue that might be conducive with his own aura.
Why do you choose that wine?
Because, like I said, well, it's bold. I think he'd appreciate it. I think he'd like it. I think again, the man would probably be very accustomed to pretty select varietals, but I think he'd like the style of the label. And I think that might be a factor too. I think he likes it. It's big and bold, like I said. Orangey red, that's all about that guy's impact, so I think he might like that. Although I suspect he'd highly like the gold on the premium icon symbols too. That might be more in line with his aesthetic.
And the famous Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Again, we're talking about a hard man to please. I think again, icon would probably have to be up there. He's obviously going through a bit of stuff right now, so maybe we'd fling him a couple of cases of some of the old back vintage regular George's Exile Shiraz too, to warm these lonely nights as he's going through this divorce period / a decade of undoing everything he spent a lifetime doing in Africa. That's probably in a bad place right now, so definitely ship him a couple of reds.
That's good. So, Alex, thank you very much for the interview. Would you like to remind us how you can, the listeners and the friends of Wine Soundtrack can reach your cellar door and your website, please?
Absolutely. So our cellar door, we're actually quite new. We've only been open for about 2 months now. So we are just outside of Auburn, kind of on your way to Clare Valley. Technically, we are really the first stop, right on the trail over there. So yeah, if you want to look up Koonowla.com or the George Family Wine Growers, you can find more information about all of our brands and the cellar door on both those portals.
Yeah. So let's drink wine now, right?
That's it. Time to crack something. I think we might go with a screw top on one of those corks if it's that time on a Friday. So sense of urgency, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thanks, Priscilla.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack Australia. For details and updates, visit our website, winesoundtrack.com.